So good afternoon, everyone. I'm really very happy because, we are starting the webinar series, which is an educational initiative of the Indian Women's Dermatologic Association. And, this is the first of that web series that we are going to be doing, followed by your question and answers every day. It's going to be there online for the whole day. And I'm Dr. Rashmi Sarkar. I happen to be the president of the Indian Women's Dermatologic Association. Now, just a few words because this is both, a little bit personal and impersonal, that I'm also a professor in dermatology in Lady Hardinge Medical College, New Delhi. And I was also the past secretary of National IIDVL 2014-15, as well as the joint secretary in 2012. And I was the president of the IIDVL Delhi State Branch in 2018. Internationally, I have been the president of the joint Women's Dermatologic Association, Indian Women's Dermatologic Association, and also on their board of directors. And I'm also a vice president on the International Society of Dermatology and the chair of their International Mentorship Committee. So one thing about the Indian Women's Dermatologic Association is we focus on holistic development and we focus on, developing women as physicians, what we are, that is dermatologists. We take the idea from the main WDs as mentors because we like to mentor each other, friends, as well as leaders, because basically there are a lot of women in academics, but we do not have them so much in administrative positions. So that's what it is about. And that is what we are going to be talking today. We've all been staying at home. So coping with the challenges of, stay at home. You've all seen the movie, The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. So just as there's a good and a bad, there could also be a little ugly part and a dermatologist perspective, because that's what we are, dermatologists. So we will be playing a little video right now talking about the Indian Women's Dermatologic Association. That's what it is. Now let me introduce my very esteemed panel. So we have three very beautiful women, with us. And we also have two very handsome men and also very learned people. And so I'm going to introduce them one by one. You know how I know them also. We have Dr. Anil Ibrahim. I think he's somebody you all know very well, but he's been ex-professor and head department of dermatology, St. John's Medical College, Bangalore. He also is in a clinic now. He's a senior consultant, Abraham Skin and Hair Clinic. And sir, as you know, is interested in trichology, pediatric dermatology, aesthetic dermatology, has a wide range of tastes, which include theater, movies, music, and everything that is good, under the sun. That's what he says. Then we have Dr. Latika Arya. Dr. Latika Arya is a senior consultant in a clinic that is in South Delhi. And she has a lot of interest in aesthetic dermatology and pigmentary dermatology. She's also the secretary of Indian Women's Dermatologic Association. And Dr. Latika Arya actually believes in holistic dermatology, that is the wellness of the mind as well as the body. Then we have with us Dr. Soumya Jagadishan. So Dr. Soumya Jagadishan, again, is an associate professor and in the Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences. And she's somebody I have known for a number of years. She was there in the IIDVL, mentorship program with me, and we've done a lot of quality work together. And Dr. Soumya also happens to be the mother of, two boys. So she's very adept at playing referee. She's also an amateur dancer, she says, but to be very honest, she's more than that actually. And she's also very good, in art and so many other things. Then, of course, we have Dr. Ishad Agarwal. Dr. Ishad Agarwal is somebody, again, I've known for a long time. He was, in fact, the first convener of the residence committee that we had. And he's come a long way, since then. He's a consultant dermatologist in Kolkata, interested in aesthetic dermatology and also, clinical dermatology. again, he's somebody, who believes in the wellness, of the mind, holistic development, and everything, that is good in life. So I think that's something that we all have in common. Then, of course, last but not the least is a little packet of energy, and that is Dr. Saloni Katuri. So she's again one of the members that is of the residence committee, known her for so many years, and now she's based as a consultant that is in Guwahati. And she is a dermatologist with the co-curricular edge because she's interested in, whether it is dance, whether it is painting, whether it is, basketball playing, and she is an army officer's daughter. So she's very proud about that. She goes, all over, she's been all over India. So Saloni is again somebody who is somebody to watch out later. And in the words of a junior colleague, I'm just going to put this together, what they have said about me is that, madam, you are a leader by example. That's true. I was a class leader in school and I kept everybody quiet by telling a lot of ghost stories, and a mother at heart because I have mentored so many, of these people, and also a teacher by passion. So that's a little about me. And of course, I'm an amateur movie critic as well as a singer. So with that, we're going to talk about what is ailing us and what we are falling back on. That is coping up with, staying at home. What are the challenges we are facing? So can I just have the first slide, please? Okay, so first of all, we are going to talk about, the back. Can we go back? Yes. Back, Soumya, the first slide. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, if you remember the poem, which was written in the first pandemic, and people stayed at home and they read books and they listened, and gradually the world healed. And they all came back, they all healed. I think this is what is happening now with this pandemic that we are all facing. And we've all had to stay at home because it's all about social distancing and being away, from each other. So let me take up first of all what we consider the bad. Now, most of us have had no domestic help now, and with added childcare issues also, because we've always had somebody to help us with that. And still some of us continue to work. I do, and I know a couple of panelists too. So the equation needs more complex balancing. We've always talked about the balancing act because the spouse and the kids are now at home. So how do you now look at the new work-life balance? Along with that, what else has changed? Those who had stayed at home full time and who are not working ourselves used to go out, and now we are not going out to work. So that there's no let out now, especially if you're living in a big city, in a little spaced apartment. I do. I stay in Noida and I'm in a very little flat. That's about me. So I'd like somebody to take up this question. Could I ask Soumya first of all to do it? Because Soumya, I know, is still working in the hospital like me. And she also has things at home. So Soumya, could you take that question?
Yeah, surely, because like Rashmi ma'am, you pointed out, this was very difficult for me in the initial days of the lockdown. And I think I must have told you also that I was trying really hard to keep my head above water. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So when the lockdown started, it was like almost learning group dynamics once again, because to face the truth, we've never had experience as staying in a group for a long time. Even as family members, we just used to spend a few hours with each other. So once the lockdown started and everybody started, spending almost 24/7 with each other, we had the usual issues like the forming, norming, storming, all those things, because we had to relearn. There was no domestic help. And in Kerala, we have these independent houses which are quite large, which comes with a lot of, land associated with it. So the gardening, the maintaining, the cooking, you can't have takeouts. And we had to work in rotation, so the pressures associated with, the infection control thing and everything. So initially, there were a lot of issues. My family, we had that forming issues. We just had, responsibilities assigned, but they were not like really being followed up by people. So the storming things happened. There were conflicts because, I used to feel bad that, nobody's helping out, you didn't offer that and all. But finally, I feel that as the lockdown has progressed, as we've gone 4 weeks now, So now it's like we've kind of normed out. Now the responsibilities are more or less kind of
divided.
we've come to work with it. We've accepted it. Now we've almost, my family, at least I feel now we've kind of started working like a well-oiled machine and we slowly started performing. So to tell you the truth, right now I'm at a phase where I feel that we've kind of, let this experience make us grow and learned to deal as a group, deal as a unit with well-formed responsibilities. Like my elder one, he does the mopping and sweeping. He's not, I mean, somebody does the waste work, somebody does the gardening. So we've kind of now learned to live with our lockdown restrictions and limitations. Though I would have told you it was absolute madness if you'd asked me 2 weeks earlier on. So that's how the balancing has come about as far as I have seen it.
So, Soumya, that is your perspective, I just want to ask now, what about from Ishad actually? Because Ishad has had his wife working,
Yes, so I think in our case, the situation was quite reverse compared to what other people were saying because my wife, she's into radiology and she's been working and I'm sitting at home and I don't have a job per se. So I have my own practice and the practice has completely gone down because of the lockdown. So I am at home at the moment. And I have a small kid of 4 years, and it's very difficult to manage the kid to let them be, and confine them to 4 walls. So I think that was a challenge. So, but the one decent thing that I had is that my parents are with me, so I had help in that respect. But yes, there was a definite need for me to, like I was going out, I was at work for 7, 8 to 10 hours a day, and now I'm at home. So I was feeling very jittery and confined in the first few weeks for sure. But then I decided that I have to use this time. So now I go to the terrace of the house. I spend about 2 hours meditating, doing some bit of yoga, some bit of workout. I decided to take this time to work on my, health and my well-being. Firstly, I've realized that I want to utilize this time to do something good on my social media presence. So I'm working on a bit more for Instagram. So yes, it has been a complete turnaround within the last 2-3 weeks.
It's a role reversal.
Yeah.
It's a role reversal.
Total role reversal. Not just that, I felt that I sort of needed this time to look back and see where my career was going. And now I think I'll be one of those people who'll have a shift from aesthetics to a lot more clinical. It's generally the other way around. So the whole thing has really given me a lot more perspective on everything.
Ma'am, can I add something?
Yes.
So basically, we are 3 dermatologists at home and we all go to the same clinic. And now all of us are basically homebound because the clinic has been shut because of the lockdown. And my father-in-law is a different generation. Me and my husband, of course, are a different generation. But the good thing is, as Soumya said, we also have an independent house, which, you have to take care of the gardening, the cooking, cleaning, everything. But what we did was, on the very first day of the lockdown, we duty rostered everybody. So somebody's taking care of the gardening, somebody's taking care of the cooking, somebody's cutting vegetables. So as she said, we also started off a little rugged, but now it's like a well-oiled machine and everybody's sort of working in harmony with each other and we're basically prepared. So if there is a lockdown further, because we don't know when this is going to end, we're sort of all mentally prepared, for carrying this forward.
Okay, so Anil sir, can we just have the uncle Uppercottam actually?
Okay, he will come in a little later. He's
okay.
hovering around in the background. But as far as the same question that you asked the others, both of us at home are also dermatologists. My wife is also a dermatologist. And like they said, we both practice in the same clinic now. The fun part was that I was taking the load of clinical dermatology and she was doing most of the aesthetic and procedural dermatology. It just so happened that we had a division of labor in the clinic. And I found now that with the lockdown, the clinical dermatology continued almost, undisturbed. People continue to come for their significant clinical dermatological problems, but procedural dermatology almost shut down. So for me, like you asked, it was a reverse experience where after almost 20 years of marriage, I found my wife available and at home for the first time in my life. She had more time on her hands, and we got to spend a lot of time together, which was wonderful. And as far as the sharing of responsibilities is concerned, I have 2 grown-up kids, and they've been pitching in a little bit. But more, I found that as a husband, I found that, it just makes sense to pitch in and do your bit, because without that, it's very difficult when there's no help if one person is expected to carry the same load. Since you wanted to hear what Uncle Appukuttan has to say about this, his last bit of summarizing the simple solutions that he provides in his classic accent, he says, whether in lockdown or otherwise, the load should not come only on the mother or the wife. We can also help a little. It helps to improve the quality of life. Problem solved. Always ask Appukuttan angle, they say. So simple, no? Basically, we all need to pitch in and help. And I've been brought up by a working mother who was a professor in a college close by. She taught botany. And the part of the work that was before the meal, that is preparation, she and my sister did majorly. And as soon as they finished their meal, they got up and went away. And my dad and I used to clear the table, make the table clean, wash the glasses, wash the plates, and put them away. So there was almost an equal division of labor from when I was growing up. So this is not something unusual. And when they sometimes say, I'm sorry to be anti-feminist here, or not sounding so feminist, sometimes they say women are women's worst enemies. We need to make sure that we don't inculcate such habits in our sons and in our husbands. That is, every time they get up to keep their own plate or get up to do some work, when we say, it's okay, you sit there, I will take your plate, I will do. If we do that kind of thing, whether as mothers or whether as wives, then over a period of time, you are making them unlearn everything that they possibly learned, if there were any good things they learned. And so right from the beginning of a relationship or a marriage, or when we are dealing with our sons, if we have sons, we need to make them understand that this housework is not something that is exclusively a female dominion. It is something that everyone as a responsible adult is going to have to take part in.
Yeah, so I think we've all had some very important take-home messages. And, Soumya, could you go to the next slide, please? You've all heard that some very interesting things that have been said. So we are going to summarize that I think we've all had role reversals, or we've found more time with each other, something that we had been missing. But at the end of the day, it has taught us something, I think even the men have learned what it is, like staying at home, doing things, not being appreciated, isn't it? It's no longer a thankless job. I must share something light with you here. We were all washing dishes, I was doing it, my husband was doing it. And after some time, I saw that he took a lot of pride in washing the dishes. So once he was even showing it, to my driver on the webcam that look at this pressure cooker, it's absolutely looking like silver, So I was wondering why he's doing that. He took a lot of pride, in washing the things. So I think it's now that power that we're working together as a team. So I'm going over to the next now. What is dermatology if not academics? Because we have you noticed a lot more theory than other, branches. In fact, my husband is in pediatrics. I think they don't have to read so much as the dermatologist has to read. We are doing multiple things. So academics is something. Now we're not doing it regularly. We're not going anywhere out. We're doing it at home. So what has happened to academics? There are so many activities, including webinars or the social media challenges, which can actually add to the stress perhaps some people feel. Well, some people see this as a time to slow down, whether others people see this as the perfect time to get all the pending work done. So there's a difference in perception, which can actually cause a conflicting. So it'll be really interesting to know how you view this. And also, are we actually turning more academic? On one hand, it seems we have more time, or less in these times. Are we reading more or are we reading less? So can I ask Latika this question?
Yeah, so in the beginning, it was very unorganized. And what happened was that, a few people realized that this was a good time to start the webinars.
Not able to hear, I think.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
I can also hear you, ma'am.
people generally realized, all the associations and all the pharma companies, that this is a good time to, you know, start the webinars and online learning. They saw it as an opportunity to be visible and, you know, to help the people utilize their time well. So I was also very excited by all the webinars and started attending them left, right, and center. But then what I realized was that it was getting to my own house schedule and my own, you know, things which I, when the lockdown started, I actually thought that, you know, now, okay, you know, I was actually secretly feeling happy. Okay, like now I have time to do a lot of things which were pending. But then once the webinar business started, you know, all of my dreams, you know, crashed. And, you know, and on one hand, I was tempted to attend the webinars because there was something to
not able to hear actually.
It's quite clear, Rashmi. She's
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear Rashmi and we can hear Dr. Latika also. Just let her flow. She's in flow.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I have a mic. Maybe let me try and put that mic if that will help.
Probably it's the connection.
Excuse me, are you able to hear?
Latika, we can hear you clearly.
We can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So
just carry on.
So basically what happened was that the things, you know, which I had planned for myself and things, you know, like getting my stuff organized or making plans for the future or, you know, learning a new skill. So all those kind of were relegated to the background once this onslaught of webinars began. So then, you know, I sat back and then I just thought that let me just, you know, organize it better. So then I just gave a little break to attending all the webinars. And in fact, I also had to give a break to my social apps and all, because they were also, you know, full of messages and a lot of things happening here, there, live talks, live sessions. So it was very, very overwhelming. And so much so that it started stressing me, as you have rightly pointed out. So now, like, you know, I've kind of taken a step back and I'm just attending very, very selectively the ones, you know, which I really feel will add value to my knowledge. And, you know, then I'm trying to get better organized in my day. So accordingly, I'm trying to make my schedule so that it's a balanced kind of routine that I have.
So anybody else wants to pitch in this?
Yeah, Rashmi, could I say something? It's like when you've been on a diet for some time and someone offers you this full box of chocolates, you feel like trying too many. But I think the sensible approach, if you don't want an upset stomach or an upset brain or stress or whatever, is to make sure that, you know, the quick thing is to become selective about what you're doing. After the initial, like Dr. Said so effectively, after the initial thrill of so many webinars, nobody's holding you at gunpoint and making you join on those. So at this stage, when we're like fully grown adults, we can select if there's something that you think you're really going to gain from. You feel that the moderator, the panelists are very good, or the topic is so interesting that you want to listen to it, then you select maybe 1 or 2 webinars in a week and attend that, and then you'll really be able to do justice to listening or taking part in a webinar. And nobody, the ones who don't like webinars and don't want to attend them, nobody's forcing you to do that. I think it's quite silly for us to say, oh my God, there are so many webinars. There are many webinars, but it's completely up to us what we do. As for life, it's up to us what we choose to make our, our priorities. And I think Corona and lockdown is a good time for us to realize that we have to prioritize in our life, whether it comes to webinars or other things, family, friends, whatever it is.
I think I completely agree here, because it's like television channels, isn't it? That you have so many of them, you know, it is ultimately what you want to choose, or even a streaming platform, you know.
You can't possibly watch all of them and enjoy all of them. You're going to have to depend on friends or depend on your own sense of intuition to select what you want to see or do, whether it's a webinar or a TV program.
Absolutely, because like I might want to choose, say, topic A, you know, topic
Yes.
A have 5, you know, webinars, but I may want to go in, you know, for a particular speaker with experience. You know, what I would look for here is somebody with maybe experience, and even if not, somebody may be a good speaker. So there are different reasons. Also, it's true that if you don't want to watch it, you know, just shut your phone, you know, or your, what should I say, TV, you know, your screen, and you can just go and watch something on Netflix.
Yes, nothing prevents us from meditating on the rooftop or reading a good book and shutting off webinars if we don't want them.
Exactly. So I think the choice has to be there, and we can't close our eyes. You know, this is a way forward for the future. Does everybody feel that way? That we are going to have a lot of, you know, telemedicine in the future. So,
yeah, absolutely. Rashmi ma'am, if I would interject there and make a point. regarding the same thing, what I wanted, one thing is that this particular thing could activate your fear of missing out when you feel that so many people are attending so many things. So like you pointed out, and you have to use your intuition. The other thing is that there are people who might approach you and who might judge and say that since you have so much of free time now, you might as well do it. You might do this earlier, or you might do this, since you're not working and things like that. Which is where we probably have to, because people are different. There are impacts on the psyche as well. There are times when you don't feel like being academic, or you don't feel like doing something, probably the mindset changes occur, especially in the beginning of the lockdown time. So there also conflicts can arise because some people may be in a, no mood to work at all. So that also probably has to be accounted. And the other person might be feeling that, see, you're not working, you're having a lot of free time in your hands. So why don't you do a lot of things, especially when works, including, the academic work or the works in the hospital and things like that. So here also I've seen conflicts arising with many of the colleagues and all that.
So I think, I'm going to go over to the next, because these questions are all related to each other. So that's why I'm taking, one or two panelists at a time. I think, can we have the next one, Soumya?
Yeah.
Next, please. See, so she talked about FOMO, isn't it? The fear of missing out. I've learned all these abbreviations now, from my son. I never knew them. Yeah, I think that should not be a pressure on us, basically. It is how you see it. I know we come into peer pressure, and I do, even I get into peer pressure. I'm sure everybody does. So it's, how you want to do it. As Ishad says, take a chill pill, If you want, you take a chill pill. So I'm going to...
Can I say something here? I have learned a new term, and that's called as dolce far niente. It's Italian word, and it means the pleasant idleness, or the joy of doing nothing. So I think it's a very great time to be doing that. Stay idle and just be with yourself. I mean, this time is not going to come back ever again.
Yeah. Thank you. So I'm going to go to the next because they are all interrelated questions, So do we ever feel an invasion of time, invasion of space? I think this is related to the first with the whole family at home. So I think we very much took it up, in which Dr. Anil has very nicely said that he actually liked, that he had more time with his wife, actually. And there is a little invasion of space also, which we talked about, those of us who used to go out and let out steam. So what about elderly patients, Some of us are fortunate that they are with us. We are not so fortunate, My mother-in-law stays on the outskirts of Kolkata at a place. Home alone, getting anxious and worried about them. I'll personally tell you, she's there. There is no house help, So although she can manage the cooking, they are very particular about getting their place cleaned before the puja, things you've been doing for 80 years of your life now, So that's what is eating her up. Secondly, the fear that we are working in the hospital and we may be exposed to, the COVID is another thing that is eating her up. So they are very worried. We are also worried about them. And secondly, learning to manage with less. Has this period actually helped us to realize how wasteful we are with food, groceries, shopping, luxury products, malls and movies? Before I go over to the panelists, I'd like to say, yes, I became very aware of water being wasted, isn't it? We talked about the 20 seconds rule. I actually calculated, I looked at the watch, what is 20 seconds, when we are washing with soap and water. I became more perceptive. I've told my son that don't leave any rice on the plate, Then even with groceries, luxury products, I was so fond of handbags. Let me tell you, I'm a handbag person. I have to pick a handbag from anywhere in the world and it comes out of the cupboard. And do you know what I noticed? That you can't carry a huge handbag to work any longer because you're worried about the virus. So now what I have is a little small, dome-shaped bag, with the least surface area, which I can come back home and clean. So there's no using all those handbags, it looks so wasteful. So now I'm going to go one-to-one, somebody with elderly parents at home, if the person could take it up, getting anxious, and one panelist for managing with this.
Can I take this one?
Yes, please take up elderly parents.
Ma'am, I have my parents at home. I have a brother who is in London. They are in lockdown there. And my mother is constantly worried about their well-being, about well-being of my wife going to work. I have a small child, and so she's very much into her old traditional ways of worship and all that. And then she keeps on watching the news all the time. So with the space constraint, what I felt is that it's become very difficult for people to give each other the space that they previously had, the freedom that they previously had. So we had to rework out that entire thing, and it took us a week to understand that as children we need to give our parents that kind of space. If we are living together, we need to let them be and not criticize them for being constantly worried, because even that adds to their stress. And I think at now this point, even she has realized that worrying is not going to do anybody any good. So it's not been easy, but yes, I think we are slowly getting there where we are learning to coexist all the time, 24/7 with each other.
Thank you. So who would like to take up the next one, that learning to manage with less?
Ma'am, can I add something to this one?
Yeah. And take up the next also then, because we have many questions to cover here. So you can add on the next. Yeah.
So basically, my parents are in Bangalore. My sister's also in London, and I'm here in Guwahati. So initially, when this whole pandemic started, I was really worried about my parents, and everything from getting groceries to they also let off, same their cook and their maid. And initially, for the first 2 or 3 weeks, I was really worried. But then I realized that they're also practicing all the, safe practices, washing their hands, whatever they're getting from outside, they're sanitizing it. And I also have a lovely Labrador at home, Cashew. So he has, sort of really taken care of the situation, I feel. It really, really helps in alleviating the anxiety and the stress for my parents. And one thing that I really realized during this time is that your family matters the most, no matter what. Money will go, wealth will go, everything will go, but it's your family that you really, really need to take care of and keep close to your heart, because they're the ones that you really think about. Now money is of no use. I mean, nobody will accept money from you. And, so it's like the old times, how the barter system used to work. You give somebody milk, they give you eggs, So that's how it is now. So that's one thing that I really realized, that, we take everything for granted, and we should not. And this is the time that we should actually sit and introspect about it.
Soumya, can we have the next slide, please? So 2 things: introspection, how we perceive, our parents, they have elderly parents, all of them have their own set of, issues. Maybe we have become more perceptive. Have you realized one thing? I realized that day that, we are staying together like this, spending so much time together. Maybe this is how we will be in our old age. I was telling my husband, that we have to be there in each other's hair. Apologies, Dr. Anil. Psychology, because this is how, we'll be staying with each other. So you have to be little less cranky, and I have to be little less cranky. So it is kind of a preparation, There is a spiritual part about it, which we are going to be coming to now. Now, I'm taking up the next question. I'll be actually asking one of you each to take it, because we have a lot of interesting questions, and then you can summarize in the end. What did you do when things went wrong at home? There can be a lot that can go wrong. Electrical, plumbing, mixie doesn't work. It can look small. But how do I get my grinded masalas? UPS failed. That's horrible. A big rat enters the house. Shudder, shudder. I'm really scared of, creepy crawlies. And the other nice part, which I'm sure, I'm going to ask Dr. Anil Abraham to take up the next question, which will be about the one book you've read or the one movie you've watched, which you've completely missed if you've never stayed at home. Because I often discuss movies and books with him. He's my go-to person, for movies and books. Sometimes he scolds me, but we still discuss. So who would take up this, something electrical or plumbing or mixie doesn't work?
My AC broke down, and so I went to YouTube to see how to fix a leaking AC. So initially I would call, previously I used to call these guys to do that, and they would charge you somewhere between 500 to 800 bucks. So I realized it's very easy if you just YouTube it. And I think now onwards I can save that money because I've learned it, how to fix my AC.
You're taking away that AC guy's job.
Yeah, I'm taking
learn to cut hair also. Next we have to learn to cut, hairdressing we'll have to learn. I think
my wife, my haircut. I told her to do my haircut. See a YouTube video.
Yeah. So if you see my hair standing on end, whom to blame.
Then I learned how to dye, my husband's hair also. I'd been putting it off, but now, I'm able to do that, And
basically, we are trying to do things on our own. And in fact, this mixie thing happened to me. My mixie stopped working, but thankfully I had a spare one. So I hope now that keeps working, because if that breaks down, then I'm gone.
Yeah, then you'll just have to eat it raw. My mother had taught me cooking also with, proper cut, onions and even lasan, for that matter, So I can do it even without the mixie.
None of you all have that old grinding stone thing that our mothers and
we
grandmothers
have it. Yeah,
We have it.
We have it. We have it. We have it.
Silbatta, no? Silbatta, it is called.
But
My husband was a plumber for a day, ma'am. We had no water coming into our, washroom. And so he went up, down, and he did the plumbing. And luckily, the water sort of came back.
This is how you live in the USA, in case somebody wants to go out anyway. Okay, Anil sir, could you tell us?
Before we go on to that, Rashmi, I'm the one who gave that question. We had a big rat enter our house.
Oh, no.
Because I think we used to leave the doors here and there open, which other people used to check earlier. And so we had left the kitchen door connecting to the work area open, and we had a big rat inside. And then since you're talking about stereotypes, guess when there's a big rat in the house, who you expect to solve that problem? I'm not good with rats. I wanted to die, and everyone thought that the father of the house is supposed to be dealing with these big sewage rats, those big fat fellows. And so I went in there and I did what our Prime Minister taught us. I took a thali and a spoon and I banged it, and the blessed thing ran out. Thank God, because I didn't know how to be Superman, and nobody got to know what I actually did. I told them the rat has left, and I quickly closed the door.
That's a good
I'm
tip.
as scared of rats as anyone else.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
I just climb, the highest part, of the house if I can. I'm just scared, So I think
I don't think anyone loves rats in their house.
Yeah. So the PM actually taught us something better, isn't it? That is even, we can keep so many pests away, that's important. So could you tell us about that one book or that one movie you watched, which you may have completely missed?
I think I'll have to pick two movies, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. I don't think I would have ever watched those movies on television if not for this lockdown period. The whole family all cuddled together on one bed. We watched Parasite, which was the Oscar award-winning foreign movie, which won the Oscar. And it was so thoroughly enjoyable and unpredictable that I had a great time with the family watching that. And the second one was, I don't know if it was very child appropriate, but I watched Joker, and again thoroughly empathized with the character of the villain, and felt that sometimes in life you want to go out there and beat up a few people and get revenge on behalf of the whole world. So two movies I enjoyed. One is The Parasite and the other is Joker.
I'm going to talk about two because I know these two movies are anyway masterpieces, which Dr. Anil has talked about. I think I managed to watch a serial which I think you had recommended only, sir, and that was Taj Mahal 1989, isn't it?
Oh, yes. It is
amazing. Lots of poetry. Yeah.
Yes, that's something very interesting, very lifelike. If you've not watched it, it's on Netflix, and it talks about, again, dysfunctional relationships. It's very interesting. And I think the other one I watched, it's a Bengali movie with subtitles, Drishti Koon, Viewpoint. If you can watch it, please do. It's a thriller, but it's a little different, So it's something that I would like to say. Can I have the next slide?
Nobody else has books and movies?
Lots of them.
We watched Contagion, actually, all of us together once this whole thing came about, the virus. And other than that, there's a lot of Ramayana and Mahabharata going on, the Doordarshan and the old time serials. My in-laws are just enjoying it, and I'm so happy to just watch it. It's really lovely.
It takes about 10 minutes for the two arrows to meet in the middle of the screen. That's the only thing.
And all the firework and the graphics are they're just hilarious, but it's fun.
I think, that these are some of the good parts. We are now talking about the good, Not everything is not bad. Has this really helped us get back to our earlier interests, which we had given up or slowed down when we started being doctors? Painting, writing, dancing, singing, reading.
Yeah.
Also, we randomly said that I'm so tired, I need a break. I need a break is something that we say, every 2 days, isn't it? Will we really think hard before asking for these things? We've taken a lot of things for granted. Will we be more leisurely, paced out when we see patients now? I remember the words of the poem, Davis's poem. What is this life if full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. I'm going to come to the next question on nature. Do you think the stay at home really changed you as a person? And what is the one thing that you missed when you were enforced to stay at home? If a Jenny allowed you to make one quick wish, what would that be? You're just allowed one wish. So I'm just going to ask you people, randomly these questions. Before that, I'd just like to tell you that I have never given up on my interest, but yes, I discovered Star Maker. Okay, for those who like to sing, Star Maker is there. And I actually learned how to synchronize my voice with that. I learned, that there were more friends on Star Maker. It's a karaoke system, and you can sing with that. And you can put it on when you're washing your dishes, your own songs, because that encourages other people to tell you that please go, we are going to wash the dishes. I used to do that, Second is, I don't think I'm going to say that I need a break again. I think none of us will for some time. Has it changed you as a person? I could not reach out to some of my friends, and we actually made a group, the journalist group or whatever it is, and we actually got to know each other as people. We were sharing things like books, Archie comics, Tintin comics, and we were actually reading each other's reviews. And what is the one thing that I missed? If a Jenny says only one wish, I'd like to go back to Khan Market, again, with all the shops, open. And I'd like to make my purchases, browse through the shops. I'm sure that it is looking, very ghostly right now. So I'm going to ask one by one. Number, 9. Saloni, could you just take it, your earlier interest?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I feel that this lockdown has sort of, made me relax more, because I think we are all in an auto mode. We go to work, we come back, we get tired, we go to sleep. So earlier interest, I think singing is something that, I used to sing in the choir. And so now, since I don't have a guitar here, so I got my friend who's in Bangalore, who's been, I send him my list, and he sort of records all these tunes on his guitar and he sends it to me, and then I give the vocals to that. So that's how we've been trying to sort of get on with this. And I've also sort of started gardening, ma'am, which I really like. My parents also do it a lot better. And I think it's just wonderful to reconnect with nature. I think that's something that we all have to do at some point. I think in this industrialization and development, we've sort of forgotten how beautiful, environment is around us. So just the birds chirping or the butterflies flying, it just sort of relaxes me. So I think that's something that other than that, I think I've really been relaxing a lot, listening to music, reading books. Chicken Soup for the Soul is something that I used to read as a child, and I have one here, and I've just started reading it again. And I think it's been a wonderful time out for me, at least, and changed me as a person. I think we're all just the same. It's just at different points in life, we sort of forget to reconnect with the other half. So I don't think it's really changed me as a person, but it's taught me to value things more. As Anil sir had said, I don't waste. None of us waste now. We make sure that we eat what is there. We use the last vegetable that is left in the fridge, and it's really taught us how to sort of cook with whatever we have. So that's something that is, I think, really important during this time.
Anil,
one thing that I really miss is golgappas and fuchkas, ma'am. And if one thing,
you can make some at home.
You have to learn to make it at home.
Yeah.
And if a genie allows me one wish, I would ask him to get me benne dosa and benne paddu from Davangere, which I really, really miss. It's just delicious.
Dr. Anil sir, would you like to take this question?
I think sir is gone.
Yeah.
Maybe his connection is...
Yeah, okay. So we can go over to the next question unless somebody wants to pitch in. We have a number of questions actually to cover. So maybe we'll, go one by one. Can we go to the next?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
So I think, she has summarized it very well. I think this is also a part of that we have learned what are the key, messages. We have learned to, enjoy nature much more. That is one thing. We have clear blue skies. We see the bird. You can see the flower. I had a lot of excitement when I saw a chili growing, in our little chili plant, isn't it? We actually, all of us ate it. We divided it into 3, we took its picture. And things we took for granted, we are not going to do, take those things for granted. It's been a laid back life, something which I have enjoyed. A secret is I used to travel a lot, and people would always tell me, okay, you're abroad, you're on Facebook. And a lot of my trips actually got cancelled, I'm actually enjoying it because, going out is not easy. You have to plan so much, You have to plan at home, plan there, take permissions, and I'm actually feeling very relaxed about there. So I think we'll not be taking anything for granted in the future. I think we all agree with that. We're not going to say that we need a break. Let's enjoy what we have. I think the next list, we've already done that, Can I have the next slide, Soumya? Okay, so this is important. Skin care during stay at home and with the patients. The need to look good or presentable is no longer there because most of us are not going out. We can very well be in our pajamas and, t-shirts. However, this should not interfere with one's self-esteem. So how do we take care of ourselves in these times? Also, skincare tips, for ourselves and the patients, maybe just in 2 lines. One person can take up self-care tips and connecting with our existing patients, something that is worrying everybody when the stay-at-home finishes, but that itself is a topic in itself. So we're just going to touch upon that very briefly. So, Latika, would you go for that?
So, since, I have been doing teleconsultation, so I do get ready and, it could be my lockdown dress. Maybe I'm wearing a nice shirt and maybe my track pants.
Yeah.
And,
don't have to bother about the lower, You
don't have to bother about the lower.
Yeah.
And but otherwise also I feel like my husband was like not shaving and he was just in his tracks whole, and that made me feel very depressed. So I told him that even if you're not going out to work, just pretend that you are going out, just get ready, just wear your work clothes so that you feel that you are in the flow. Because 2 days if you relax, you feel good, and it's fine, like you can feel lazy. But if every day of the week you behave like that, it somehow impacts your psyche. It starts making you feel unwell, or like you're not required, and I think that has a huge impact on your mental well-being. So like I'm a big proponent that one should get ready, follow the routine, not just laze around the day, and just get ready and pretend as if you're going to work. And then if you have a small corner in your house, you can just be on your table, or if you have a work table, so do something. Maybe you're reading the newspaper, maybe you're reading a book, but like pretend that you have a routine and structure your day throughout the day so that you feel you are in control. Otherwise, when the day passes by and the evening comes, you feel as if what did you do, and the day just passed away, and you feel very, very useless. And so that's like my take on that.
Any skincare tips?
Regarding the skincare tips, like for personal thing, I think nowadays we are washing our hands very frequently. So, and people who are already suffering from like skin issues like atopic dermatitis or sensitive skin, they need to put moisturizer. So that is one thing, I have kept moisturizer at all areas of hand washing. And in fact, I'm encouraging every, like we have house staff. So even for them, I'm telling them to keep washing their hands, and plus then apply the moisturizer. And for the patients, there are a lot of patients who are like simply not connecting, like they were on treatments, and since, probably they are thinking that it's not important. I don't know whether they're still following the treatments. So my aim is like, I don't know, I'm working on it. I want to just send them this message that please don't interrupt your skincare routine, what you are following, because it takes a long time to get to a certain result. And if you just stop, you just, reverse all the good work that you have done. So that is for like general skincare. Like even if you're home, you need to put sunscreen because many times you're out in the balcony, or you go out on the.
Or actually, you're sitting on the terrace sometimes.
Yeah, you're sitting on the terrace. So
you have to be particular about it.
Yeah, or you're gardening, or you're doing some outdoor activity. So sunscreen is a must, and then continue with whatever skincare you were following. It doesn't have to stop in the lockdown. One. Especially like we as dermatologists, we have many samples we get, so we can continue with our skincare. We don't even have to go and buy them. In fact, now I'm feeling more, I'm understanding the value of these samples. So which I earlier never used to really bother about. So
yeah, actually, in fact, one thing that I'd like to say is that, teleconsultation is going to be around for quite some time besides your usual practice.
yeah.
One thing you have to look, when you're planning, because see, I have been in the hospital all through. So there is no lifestyle change for me, actually. In fact, it's double work for me now because it's hospital and I'm also working at home, without any maids and any cleaners or anybody. So it's actually double work for me, though I've been sending out all those nice messages. So actually what I'd like to say is we are going to have a different kind of a practice with lesser patients initially because you have to maintain the social distancing. And secondly, it will be a mix of probably one-to-one consultation and also teleconsultation. We've actually started it, in our college, for a very brief period. And in skin, we are used to getting these WhatsApp and, other things which we never took seriously. And one thing that you can prescribe in the group O, drugs which are there, which is by the ministry, of course, that it's mainly most of vitamins and other things. Group A, which is there, that mainly has, topicals actually. So topicals are not an issue for a first timer. For a patient who's already on medicines, it can be continued or it can be a refill. But for others, if you have to start a new, fresh systemic drug, think about it. Do it only once you're, away and you have a one-to-one consultation. So can we go over to the next slide? And yeah, before we go, to the last question, overall COVID-19 has been a great disruptor. How do you, grudgingly or as an opportunity, on all arenas of life? I think we've taken this question partly, but I'll ask somebody, to summarize. Career, family, relations, health, spirituality. How do you see the future, Is this going to be our future? Global pandemics, widespread panics, and universal precautions? Because we've seen it probably for the first time in our lifetime, isn't it? It says that it comes once in 100 years, but it has completely, thrown us off the wheel. So can somebody take up the question, and this has been a great disruptor?
Honestly, I think, yes, it has been a great disruptor. And even though we might say that we are spending more time with family, there's a lot of spirituality, love for nature, self-care, etc. I think there will be some part of us which would be looking at it grudgingly as well. I mean, at least I am, and I'm going to be a little honest about it because, it has changed a lot of things for us, be it finances, be it like I was about to shift into a new house and that got stopped because of it. And there's no way for me to understand when am I going to go there. And we are paying the EMIs, we are paying the rent. So yes, there is a bit of a grudge also there. But I think we have to at some point accept it. I mean, at least I am not able to accept it fully as of now. It is going to take me some bit of more time for us to go to a point where I think we'll be spending a lot less, saving a lot more probably, and taking much more wiser decisions, more like our parents. So as a generation, at least for our generation, I feel this was, we were raised in a very get-goer kind of a way, like, this is something that we want and we are going to get it no matter how. We will just get it. So that has changed a lot. Especially we cannot be taking things for granted. And future, I don't think we are in a position to make a prediction as of now. We don't even know what is going to happen in the next 1 month, let alone how more pandemics are going to come. So I think that is how it can be.
Rashmi, can I take that?
Oh, you're there?
Yeah. I just got back. Got back in the sense there was some disruption in the connection. I see what Ishad is trying to say. I understand his point of view completely. He's probably on another plane of his career, and I've gone through that curve and come to the other end. That sounds horrible, like I'm going to die tomorrow. But what I mean is that I'm in a more peaceful situation in life. As in, there are not too much of financial burdens. I'm not hustling. I'm not trying to be the best at everything. There is a sense of calm already in me, which is why I gave up my teaching job in St. John's. And I said, okay, this is the time I need to spend more with myself and my family. And Corona just helped to, COVID just helped to underline the fact that, this is the way life is going to be. If we don't have a sense of acceptance of that, I think we are always going to have this conflict. And I understand completely the conflict for somebody who's at the, upper incline of their career. I find it far more acceptable for me because I was anyway mentally moving into a space where I will see the patients that I want to see, and I'm going to enjoy every patient I see. I'm going to spend a lot more time with my patients. I think this has changed me in that way. And I'm going to enjoy the process of being a doctor now. When I go back, I'm going to be really grateful for every patient who walks through that door. I'll be happy to see them, and I won't be grumpy and complain about, I wish I could have a break. I wish there were a few less patients. This one asked so many questions. I think I'm going to be changed as a person, at least as far as that. And that disruption has helped me to reanalyze my life and probably value everything that is around me, which I take for granted. Is this going to be our future? I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes. Bill Gates has very effectively said that we're going to have to deal with constant pandemics. And instead of panicking, I think the need to do is this, what has happened in our lives as far as a little bit of sensible social distancing, not breathing down each other's necks, making sure that you wash your hands, that sanitization and all those universal precautions which we always talked about, all those should become part of our routine. And then I think we'll be able to take these things in our stride and not shut down the whole country and the whole world every time there is a virus which enters the picture.
Yeah, I think it's very well put across, by both of you. Actually, we are supposed to be taking these universal precautions otherwise also. Even in our culture, we are supposed to be washing our hands, so many times before. But sometimes, somewhere, because we are always hurrying, we are leading a very hectic life, many things we are actually not doing sometimes. So maybe this pandemic has taught us that all those things we were supposed to do and not doing have to be done. Maybe it's nature's way of telling you of doing it. But at the same time, I think it has been a disruptor in a lot of ways. And we would rather not have it, even if we've had that free time and all, isn't it? If you ask us.
Yeah. We'd like to learn our lessons, but we'd like to have our
not
life.
Like this. Yeah.
Not like this.
Not like this.
I want to be better prepared maybe because, initially when it started, I was a bit excited. Can I have the next slide by that time while I'm speaking, Soumya? I felt, I had read that book on Anne Frank, and she had lived in hiding, for so many years. I was very inspired and I was very excited. I got my goods and kept everything stored, the groceries and all that. My son was also very excited that I have my 14 days, 14 nights food when I'm studying. So it looked very exciting that time. But later on, you realized there's nothing very exciting about it. In fact, you're worried. There is a stress, there is a danger looming large somewhere. So you can only be excited when you don't have the danger, and there is a danger because in our hospital we see, patients turning positive. So you're no longer that happiness and that excitement is there, that free time. Like I'm changed, I've seen both the ends of the spectrum.
And so, I like my holidays, but I like my holidays after a lot of hard work. Having prolonged holidays is like really the most horrible thing you can do to any human being.
Yeah, because we are used to, working. That is basically our relaxation is work in some ways,
True.
But in some way, this has also taught us, to be grateful because like we are all in lockdown and we have these small issues. But when you read about, the not so fortunate people, women suffering from domestic violence, children, homeless people. So, I mean, we have a lot to be grateful for. So I think this COVID has taught us that also.
My dad said we should be happy that we have food on our plate. I think that was
just simple things should make just
we have a home where we can stay at home.
Yeah, very important.
The daily wage earners, I think, have suffered the most, and I think something should be brought into play for them. At least, as Ishrat said, we should be thankful that we have something to eat at home, which is very important.
Yeah.
I'm now going to come to the last part. There are two, parts that we need to keep an on. The role of the dermatologist. So I just showed this article, COVID-19 and the dermatologist finding calm in the chaos. Actually, we decided to do an editorial on this ahead of print in Pigment International Journal. So Soumya and I, both of us wrote. And as we were writing, we found that every day the scene is changing. Have you seen that? Like we started writing it, within 4 days, there was something different that had been discovered. And then again, so we said that we are going to take it, till this point of time. So can we have the next slide, Soumya? So can you just tell us the learning points 1, 2, 3, 4, just very briefly, because then we are just going back to the ugly after that. The next slide, please. So can you just say 1, 2, 3, 4, what we wrote in this editorial?
You're asking me, ma'am?
Soumya.
Soumya.
Yeah, hi. So we were just trying to compile the information that was available about COVID and the dermatologists, especially at that point of time. And we approached it mainly from the work point of view, how we should make arrangements in our practice, how it was affecting us economically. There were a lot of uncertainties regarding clinical practice, whether we should open them, whether we should shut them, what precautions. So we had compiled the information available and put that. And also the impact on, we also try to think about it from a little bit futuristic point of view, how it would impact us in the future as well, how telemedicine is going to be there. And then, of course, the clinical point of view, how skin manifestations are being reported in COVID. Like we have the urticarial rash, the maculopapular rash. Now we are having these microthrombosis is there, microvasculature.
Hello?
Yeah.
Reporting erythema and livio-like presentation. So those things we had compiled. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes. Yes.
So these things mainly we had put up, and also regarding how the association and the government could help us, because how legalizing telemedicine, giving more frameworks, the framework have quite inadequate, how we could think about, asking for fees, how, people should have framework to help out the dermatologists who have, for clinics, those rental, those moratoriums, all those things also we've tried to bring in through this. And also, of course, the parts where the healthcare workers are affected as far as the skin is concerned, like the PPE associated dermatitis, miliary eruptions, the hand sanitizer use, presenting with skin issues, all those things we've compiled here.
Yeah, I would like to just add that we also talked about, COVID-19 and the pigmentation, pigmentary problem.
Right.
Is there something, there isn't any literature, but there was concerns from the vitiligo patient. After all, it's also an immunologically mediated disease. Are they more prone to COVID-19 or less prone? Well, we don't know at this point of time, because their immunology that is directed more towards their melanocytes. One thing is, where their treatment is concerned, this is not the time for them to really be using strong medicines or immunosuppressants. Secondly, phototherapy also, that will be disrupted. You can't come to the hospital for, 3 times a week. So what in India, we have the puva salt sitting out in the sun, or just, sun's radiation. That is something that can be used. That is something we wrote in this article. What about the melasma patients? We need to see them after this, stay at home. I think their melasma might be better, because sunlight may not be playing so much of a role, but at the same time, they're also sitting out in the terrace. So please advise sunscreen still, and they should, continue with their routine treatment. So these were certain concerns that we addressed.
Dr. Ishad, Dr. Ishad and Dr. Soumya, do you all visualize dermatosurgeons wearing the full PPE when they do procedures soon after this reopens?
So I don't think people are going to come down for procedures. Secondly, my point is, even if we are wearing the PPE, preventing ourselves from getting infected, most of the work in dermatology is going to happen on the face. So be it any kind of procedure. So are you going to get your patient to wear a mask and then do a procedure? I mean, so there are a lot of...
No, I think we take some things for granted now, the splashes and things like that. Yeah. Maybe we will be a little bit more careful than we were before.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes. And a Pfizer mask for sure, if at all. My patients have been asking me, when are you opening? We want to do the filler, etc. So at least I know for a fact that I have ordered the visor. I'm going to wear it and do a procedure. At least I want to be safe. Let's see.
Yes. All those who are becoming a little casual about the universal precautions, the gloving, the, wearing some kind of protection on the body, and at least a visor mask. I think those kind of things we will reinforce in our practice now when we're doing procedures.
At least this year, I think at least till September. That is how
it's not a matter of a few weeks. It's at least 6 months.
Yeah, and making the patients wear the mask is also as important as you taking care. And as we still continue to work right now, there are certain precautions that we are practicing additionally, like we don't let the bystanders in unless and otherwise it's mandated. We don't try to, socialize with the patient as much as we used to do. It's like,
Yes,
come quickly diagnose and send. And they also try to understand that and ask less physical contact as much as possible.
Another thing we become conscious of is the surfaces, the entry exits to our clinics and procedure areas, whether we can have something other than those handles which we used to use. We need to think about that also.
Actually, I think we've got used to now using knuckles and knees and foot. I don't know, I think that has become the new.
You use the elbows or the knuckles to
open.
Yes. And also the and ventilation, I think, which was not really taken care of in dermatology clinics. Like our OTs, don't have good systems for smoke evacuation. And most of our procedures, whether it's radio frequency, carbon dioxide, laser hair reduction, sort of there's a lot of aerosol which is produced. And we don't know if this virus can really, survive in it. So I think smoke evacuation, healthy smoke evacuation practices are very, very important for all our clinics. Well ventilated. And having the filters that are there into a portable smoke evacuator system and nothing else, at least that should be put into place for the future.
So staff training also is very, very important, because like we think that things are being done, but whether actually the peon or the staff person is disinfecting after every patient, so that also somehow needs to be ensured in place.
Soumya, can you put the next slide while I summarize? So I think we have covered up, some of the points, which how we foresee the future, and that's going to be for a couple of months that we have to remember about the universal precautions. And I think there have been quite a few webinars on that. So the ugly is, again, what has risen during this time. Crime, there's no crime on the streets, robbing and stealing and murders and rapes, they have gone down. But what has happened is the perpetrator is now at home. So things like child abuse as well as, domestic violence has really gone up. So Soumya, can you put the next slide, please? So there's rising cases of domestic abuse and child abuse in the beginning, that was at the end of March till somewhere in April. But on the other hand, now it has gone down. I was trying to read up, and what I found is it's not that it's gone down, there's less reporting. Reason being, you have the perpetrator at home, how do you call up? So somebody has to call up from the child's room or some other place. So you're living with the perpetrator. But there's a social distancing. But, the person is right there at home, who can abuse you. You can't run out. There was a South Indian lady, domestic help, who used to run out in her streets to protect herself from the husband. She can't go out now, She had to actually run out and, go to the police that was there, guarding that part of her town. So this is the ugly part of it. Would somebody like to say something about this? This is the bad part, of our relationships.
Another factor that you haven't discussed in that ugly part, I think, is the fact that alcohol is not easily available. And the ones who are dependent on alcohol or drugs are venting their frustrations on family members.
Yes,
so in that way, also, the domestic abuse is increasing. It's horrible. It's something that we can discuss forever and still not have a satisfactory answer to. Unfortunately, it's so depressing to hear and read about.
The worst part is that these women have no way of, seeking help because their phones are not allowed to recharge. They don't have any access to any,
internet. Some of them only 25% have.
Yeah, NGOs are also not working, so there's nobody.
From what I heard, even food, some of them are no access to food also. They're not getting even the basic means of food.
Yeah. So I think, in this, some, people of influence can promote some mass media campaign like this. You had this parody right now. You were explaining how a husband can help in a humorous way. So,
Yes.
Some celebrities or some people of influence, they should advertise, they should make up these kind of small messages, against this domestic abuse, child abuse, sensitizing the people.
I also feel, ma'am, if somebody who's going through this, once the lockdown, etc., gets over, I think it's time for them to realize that it's not, you can't just be living with something like that. It's important that the moment they can get out, they should get out and not consider the social obligations of
because somebody who has that problem is not going to get better suddenly.
Yeah.
You have to get up and get out.
set up and
I'm
get
sure
out.
a lot of breakups are going to happen after this.
Divorce rates would increase, you know.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to say, I read something nice they had done in France. You know, France actually has a kind of a button, you know, on the phone. Just press that. Don't even have to call up if you can manage to get that. And they are separating these people, putting them up, these abused women in, you know, hotel rooms. They tried doing that, you know, they tried, you know, putting them in hotel rooms. Maybe there they have, you know, fewer people. They're able to reach out because here there is no way, you know, there's no red light coming out, you know, from that area that, you know, there's a danger zone or something like that. But this is an area where we can be more proactive about, you know, maybe create an awareness. So can we go to the next slide, Soumya? I think we've almost done. Yeah, so lastly, we have talked about the doctors and nurses being our heroes, the police being the heroes, you know, and everybody, the, you know, in the front line being the heroes. But our real heroes, unsung heroes at home are our kids, because they are now living, you know, it's like living in a prison, you know, there isn't so much of an outdoor life. They're not really going to school. Can I have the next slide actually? Soumya, they're not going to the school. They're not meeting their teachers, their children. Some of them in class 12, they were on the brinks of their career. You know, the exam has been disrupted. You know, they are studying, looking at, you know, I don't even know when the entrance exams are going to happen. I'm one of them. You know, my son was in 12th when the exams were disrupted. And they're studying, you know, for eternity. He says that it sounds like eternity. How are children taking it, this, and they're not able to go out and play outdoors? This is the last question. And I'd like to, you know, when we made these questions, I actually asked my son, you know, yesterday at dinner time, I said that you've taken it well, but, you know, did you really feel that it disrupted your life actually? He said, I was okay about it because anyway, I was studying at home. The only thing is there's nobody coming at home, you know, not even the maid or the cleaner, because both of us are at work. He said, I wanted only two things in life: food, good food, and, you know, something at night, you know, which I can eat when I'm studying, which he's got, you know, because now we are all taking care, you know, I'm trying to cook something new recipe. My husband is trying something. And the second thing he said is internet. He said, if I have internet, you know, I can stay anywhere. So he said, my only two requirements are food and internet. So I wish life was, you know, as simple as that. He said, otherwise I talk to my friends, you know, on a house party, something. We are in touch, you know, with each other. We do talk, you know, on the way.
Teenagers are very happy. I mean, they have no problems because, you know, they have the internet and that's all they need. Their whole world is on the internet.
Yeah, they have never anyway, you know, really talked as much to the
smaller children. Yeah, I don't know.
We used to have one-to-one more, you know, during our time in the 70s.
It's only horrible parents like me who restrict the use of the phone and internet. Then they're in trouble, because then they'll come and say, you're not giving us the phone.
I have a 4-year and I'm trying to cut down her screen time as much as I can. I mean, I think what I'm seeing in her is a change that she's beginning to like this lockdown period now. Initially, she was grumpy that she was not going out and all that. Now she's beginning to enjoy it because there comes a time when we are so frustrated with her constant questions and a constant need for us to be around her. With the teenagers, you can let them be. You know, they'll let you be also. But with her, you have to be with her and answering all her queries. So, you know, we were frustrated and we used to give her the TV, the phone or something. But now I realize that she's liking it. And so I've decided that I'm taking her out with me at least for an hour, where I'm forcing her to run, forcing her to walk, and trying to, you know, inculcate her with the recipes. We are trying to make stuff at home. So I'm trying to her to do something so that she feels more, you know, considered part of the whole family in the sense. So it's difficult with these little children. I don't know about teenagers, but yes, little children, it is difficult at the moment.
Talking about families and children, do you think families are going to expand after this lockdown? People are going to have more children?
Nobody wants more expenses.
9 months babies, you know, the corona babies will be around.
Corona babies.
COVID
and
babies.
if we don't have many divorces, I guess we might just have.
Well,
We're giving all you young people ideas. Go ahead.
Sir, I think we are handful with one child. I don't think another child will only help us with anything. It's add more woes.
Well, before I end, you know, this, do we have any more slides, you know, Soumya? I think before we end, you know, this, and I take the last word from you, I'd like to say one thing to everybody, who's listening to this and who'll get on the question answer with us. Stay home, stay safe, even when you're going out to work, spend more time, at home. And Indian Women's Dermatologic Association wishes you safety. I think one good thing that we learned from this pandemic was that to be more grateful, for what we have. I think gratitude is something that had been missing. Gratitude and humility, it has made me more, you know, humble and, more grateful. The other thing that we've learned is to be a little bit more prepared now, because with the changing environment, there's likely to be, more diseases. So we have to be careful whether we are at home or we are going to travel. But we have to keep learning on dermatology. Learning goes on, we are able to do that, So anybody has any last word? I'd like to thank actually my panelists because I don't want to forget thanking them, So before I take your last word, I'd like to thank, Anil sir. He has a very busy schedule and he is into, I think, back-to-back webinars. Is that right, sir? But he managed to come in. Then I'd like to thank, Latika, for agreeing all at once. It was her idea actually. So thank you, Latika. Then Soumya, she's given some very good perspectives. Ishat, you've added on, quite a lot as the stay-at-home husband, We all wish, we had a stay-at-home husband otherwise, And, Saloni, that was really very nice, all that you said. So any last words, my panelists, Anil?
Ma'am, can I add something, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm coming actually one by
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Is Anil still there? Okay, Latika?
Yeah, so see, in this all, there's a bigger picture, like we are dermatologists, so there are some other doctors, there are like, different professions, but as a human race, we all have become like collectively involved in this. So this is like a bigger picture, which, I wish, this COVID infection teaches everybody that we need to, step back and just analyze what we are doing to this earth and, just rectify whatever wrong we have been doing.
Yeah. So Soumya, just one line.
Same here. Like, though we have this COVID-19 has disrupted our lives, before any growth comes disruption. So there's no other option but to accept it. So there is scope for us to grow, and I'm grateful for that opportunity for us to grow.
Right. Ishat?
Ma'am, I think we, before Corona, I think we were all very harsh on ourselves by pushing us to deadlines and pushing us to do excel more and seeing more patients. We need to all discover self-love and self-care. And I think this is the biggest take home for me from Corona per se.
Right. Saloni?
Ma'am, I just want to add that as dermatologists, I think all of us also have to be trained in basic and advanced life support, systems and strategies, because we may not be the first line warriors, but I think if if a requirement arises, I think we should also be ready. So I think in the future, I think we should also sort of learn all of this, emergency care. And apart from that, I think I'm just very thankful that we've learned to now appreciate the little, pleasures in life. And I think Mother Earth is also healing during this time. And all of us should take care of our health and our families. And I think that's what matters the most now. So that is all, ma'am.
Yeah, I think I'd like to say, can you hear me?
Yes.
So as in Indian Women's Dermatologic Association, we believe in holistic dermatology. And, that's how we do, we've done, slice of life talks, as well as we do a lot of, scientific, discussions also. If you want IADBL to have a very holistic approach, I, Dr. Rashmi Sarkar, I'm also standing this year for the president, IADBL. And if you're looking for a more holistic IADBL, please, do support, the leadership which is going to take IADBL, make it more, holistic. So that is my message. And for the time being, stay at home and stay safe. And I'd like to thank, Dr. Reddy's Lab, DRL, for having this very good initiative. Thank you all. Please stay safe at home.
Hello everyone. I'm Dr. Rashmi Sarkar and I'm the president of the Indian Women's Dermatologic Association, or IWDA as we call it. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit about the Indian Women's Dermatologic Association and why should you be a member of this extremely enthusiastic association. Now, Indian Women's Dermatologic Association has a few areas of focus, and one is, of course, scientific activity on different diseases pertaining to women and otherwise. It also focuses on community activity, and I'm so very happy to say that we are working in close collaboration with the Women's Dermatologic Association situated in USA under the help and initiative of the immediate past president, Dr. Pearl Grimes. We are working on the Global Women's Shelter Initiative, which goes to work with the women in shelter homes who may be victims of gender violence or otherwise. And we're going to focus on them, talk to them, and give interactive sessions on general skincare tips, general advice in your day-to-day life, social etiquettes, and also nutrition. So this is a pan-Indian movement, and we've started it in New Delhi on 30th of March 2019. But I hope to see it happening also in Mumbai, in Bhubaneswar, Kolkata, Chandigarh, as well as many other cities pan-India, just to name a few. The third thing that we are focusing is on you, and you all must be agreeing to it that we have many women and many young women in dermatology, but how many of them are in leadership or administrative position? So it is to help you hone your leadership skills, help you to come forward. Fourth is, it helps you to network, to build up ties amongst yourselves so that a senior women dermatologist who you may not know will be able to help a younger woman dermatologist, which is really going to help you in your careers otherwise. Fifth, we are able to come together in different parts of India, whether it's in meetings or we get to know each other, and no longer are we alone. And sixth and most important is, it is about celebration of ourselves. So we are celebrating ourselves as women and as dermatologists. Let me take you on a very little journey. We're somewhere back in 2009, and even before that, I was actually introduced to the Women's Dermatologic Association, the WDS, in USA, when I got a scholarship and international travel grant, and I learned how wonderful it is for women all over the world to network and learn about each other and get senior women dermatologists as mentors. WDS stands for Physicians, Leaders and Mentors. That is for women because we play these multiple three very important roles. The idea was to get back these messages in India, and so in 2009 and a few years after that, with the help of the then President Dr. Wendy Roberts, then with Dr. Janet Hickman, Dr. Diane Burson, Dr. Valerie Callender, and so many wonderful women, even Dr. Evangeline Hancock, we were able to build up a new membership, a sister society membership with the Women's Derm Association, a new membership which is still there, the joint WDS Indian Women's Dermatologic Association, which happens to be a membership on an international level. So if you want to maintain your international membership year after year, you must do it at the Women's Dermatologic Society website, which is www.womensderm.org. I repeat, www.womensderm.org. And if you want to work back home with all of us and have a very lively existence as a woman and as a dermatologist, then please log on to the Indian Women's Dermatologic Association, which we have built now over the last 2 years, which is called www.indianwomensderm.com. I repeat again, www.indianwomensderm.com, and we have the membership, a once a life membership. Please become a member of it so that you can enjoy the benefits, be part of the committees, and help us in our various global community projects and also back home. And we also have this wonderful conference which is called Vodicon, and you can be an important part of it, also benefit by getting special rates as members. All the more reason, please do come forward in your city. Please join hands with us so that you become important members of this very throbbing and very lively organization with the Indian Women's Dermatologic Association. I am the president, Dr. Latika Arya is the secretary, Dr. Richa Sharma is the treasurer. We have many other members, like Dr. Sonali Langar, Dr. Atula Gupta, Dr. Pallavi Elavadi, Dr. Surabhi Sinha, and so many of you all over India, which I'm not naming because I don't want to leave out anybody, but you've all been great. So please come together and let's do all this together. Thank you so much and have a great program, because we'll be having these roundtable conferences all over the country now. The focus could be on hair. Next also could be on the building up of leadership skill, managing your personal and professional life, and so many other things. Please come forward. Please enjoy them. Please be a part of this discussion. Thank you.